This is multiplication properties of exponents. I recommend that you get your paper out with your notes and turn your book to page 394, or take note of this as we go through the notes, because I'm going to give you some help on the homework problems that you need to do. Also, make sure you have annotations in your notes, more than what I write down, and make sure to take the Edmodo quiz. So the first thing is to show you what a monomial is. And you can read through the stuff to see what it is, but here are some examples. A monomial just is a single term. And so a single term could be a number, like 9. It could be a variable, like x, or it could be the product of those two. Remember, product means it's a multiplication problem. It's the answer to multiplication. So 9x means 9 multiplied by x. So that's a product, and this is a monomial. A constant is a monomial that's a real number. So 9 would be a constant. The product of powers. So here's a quiz question. To multiply powers that have the same base, you add exponents. So the key thing here is, look, you're multiplying, because two things in parentheses, you always multiply those. So that's nothing new. Like, you could see this. 4 times 5, and you know that means to multiply. So when you have that, you add the exponents. So you're multiplying, but you're adding the exponents. The next thing is power of a power. To find the power, multiply the exponents. So here, notice the difference. See how in this case I have 2 powers with the base of x? Because I'm multiplying these two, but here I don't have that. There's only one base. So I multiply those, and it's x to the 6th. Okay, knowing power of a power is also a quiz question. Okay, these are the things you must do to simplify expressions. Make sure the base appears only once. There can be no power of a power. And then simplify all fractions. And a final quiz question, or not a final, a third, is remember when you see x, you have to understand that this is 1x to the first power. It's not going to be written like this. It might help you to write it like that, but it's always going to be x. You know that's 1x to the first power. That's a commonly missed thing. So let's look at some of the examples. First thing I'm going to do is look at number 1. So I need to determine what's happening in this problem. So to do that, I see b to the third, in parentheses, b to the fifth. And so I know that something in parentheses by something else means multiply. So I know that since I have 2 things that have a base of b, there are 2 that have a base of b, that what I'm going to have to do is product of powers. I'm multiplying 2 powers. So that means I add exponents. So I'm thinking 3 plus 5. And here's b to the 8th power. Now I multiplied. That's where it's difficult. So make sure you know that this is multiplication. The only thing that's being added is the exponents. Now let's look at number 4 and see if we can see the difference between those two. So on number 4, as you'll notice, I only have one thing that has a base of b. So I'm not multiplying powers. This is power of a power. So in this case, I multiply exponents. So I have b to the 15th. Another way to think about this is it means whatever's inside parentheses 5 times. So that's b to the third, b to the third. So it's this. Then if you did this with the power of a power rule, product of a power, you would add exponents. That's 15. Okay, let's look at another example. Here's number 2. Okay, now here's another quiz question because there's a problem I have with the coefficients. Okay, so I'm going to point that out. Here are my coefficients. I have a base of an n here and a base of an n here, base of an x, base of an x. So I have all these things. So I'm looking, and I have two things in parentheses. So this is multiplication. Remember, it's multiplication. In multiplication, I will add exponents, but I'm multiplying coefficients. So I'm going to write it out this way. 2 times 8. And to help, I'm going to make sure I remember, because this is a common mistake, I'm going to make that n to the first power. So I have n to the 7th, n to the first, x to the third, x to the fourth. So I took this extra step to write everything together. Remember, this is multiplication. This is one big multiplication problem. So 2 times 8 is 16. Remember, you're multiplying coefficients. This is not powers with the same base. This has a 2. This is an 8. Then I have n to the 8th. Because these have the same base, I add exponents. Then x to the 7th. They have the same base, so I'm also adding exponents. Let's look at number 5. So I'm looking at this. I see something with a base of 2. Do I see anything else with a base of 2? No, there's nothing else. So this is power of a power, so I need to multiply all of those exponents. So it's 3 times 2 times 4. So that's 6 times 4, so that's 24. So my answer is 2 to the 24th power. Or you can go ahead and multiply that out in your calculator. Alright, so looking at the first 4 and on some of the homework, number 1, and I'm looking at page 394. Number 1 is like number 7 and number 8. Number 2 is like 9 and 10. Number 4 is like 11 and 12. And 13 and 14 and 15. So that's a lot of those. Okay, 3 and 6 are going to be like the more difficult ones at the bottom. So I'm showing you the steps in order to solve this. So for number 3, it's multiplication. So what I'm going to do is make sure everything has an exponent so I don't get confused. Z to the first, y to the first. Those are your common mistakes. Make sure you remember z to the first and y to the first. Okay, so let's look at my terms. I have a negative 3 times 7. I'm going to lightly mark those out with a pencil so I know I'm done with them. I have x to the 4th and x to the 9th. I have y to the 9th, y to the 1st, and z to the 1st, z to the 4th. Okay, so I got everything. Now all I need to do is finish my multiplication. So remember, when you're multiplying, you add exponents. So here's negative 21, multiplying coefficients, x to the 13th, y to the 10th, z to the 5th. And last one. Okay, so on this one I have a combination. I have a multiplication problem, but I also have a power outside of this parentheses. So I need to take care of that first, and I'm going to show you some common mistakes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure everything has an exponent. This is 3 to the first. If you don't see it, it's to the first. This is 2 to the first, y to the first. I have to do power of a power first. So you might want to write that down. Multiply the exponents first. So I have negative 3 to the second power, because 1 times 2, x to the fourth power, 2 times 2, y to the 8th, because 4 times 2. Now I need to do the same thing over here. I have negative 2 to the third, sorry, that's wrong, negative 2 to the sixth power, because I'm multiplying all these. 2 times 3 times 1. There is no x. And then I have y to the sixth. Okay, so the next thing you can do is you can solve this. So I need to simplify my coefficients. So if you need help here, 3 to the second power is 9. And negative 2 to the sixth power is 64. Make sure you look at your calculator. When you do the negatives like this, put it in parentheses. And then x to the fourth, this is y to the 14th. So 576, x to the fourth, y to the fourth. So as you're working the homework, see the examples here. Try to distinguish, are you adding exponents or are you multiplying exponents? See if there's more than one base. So here's your case. Know the difference between number 1 and 4. See how there's multiple with a base of b? Here is only 1. So I multiply those exponents.